Hey guys, what's going on? James here, and in this video we are going to be previewing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers Week 14 matchup versus the Indianapolis Colts. So guys, without further ado, let's talk about it. First thing I would like to mention is all of the players that are labeled as out for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and for the Indianapolis Colts. Let's start off with the Colts. You have three really big players who are labeled as out now for this game. For the Colts, you have T.Y. Hilton, Kenny Moore, and Adam Vinatieri. These are just some pretty big players that are labeled as out for the Indianapolis Colts because T.Y. Hilton, one of the better wide receivers in the NFL. I think top half wide receiver in the NFL easily. He was, their number one wide receiver, and then after that, things really haven't been great for the Indianapolis Colts in terms of their wide receiver core. They have suffered a lot of injuries at that position. They had Devin Funchess. He is now on the IR. He suffered an injury earlier on this year. So, yeah, the Colts are going to be without their number one wide receiver. They're going to be working with a lot of their number 3 and number 4 wide receivers, so definitely pay attention to those guys in this upcoming game. You then have Kenny Moore, who is arguably their best cornerback on their entire defense. They have some other guys in that secondary as well in the cornerback room who have done some good things, but Kenny Moore has certainly shined this year as a slot cornerback and whatnot, so it is really unfortunate there without him as well. And then finally, Adam Vinatieri. We all know and love Adam Vinatieri, but this year he has struggled to kind of make an impact as a kicker. He's missed a lot, and I mean a lot of field goals this year, so maybe it is better that he is out. I know it's it hurts to say that, but yeah, it might be better for the Colts that he is out this week versus the Buccaneers. The Colts did claim another kicker. I believe it was from the Cleveland Browns, but we're going to have to wait and see how that guy does. But yeah, those three players are out for the Indianapolis Colts, and that is unfortunate for them, especially given the cases of T.Y. Hilton and Kenny Young. For the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Alex Kappa is labeled out for this game. T.J. Logan is labeled out for this game. Scotty Miller and Anthony Nelson are also labeled out for this game. Jamel Dean should be good to go. He did suffer an injury last week versus the Jacksonville Jaguars, but overall he should be good to go. In place of Alex Kappa, Earl Watford should come back into the starting fold as the Buccaneers right guard. He has played earlier on this year, and yeah, just continues the struggles that Alex Kappa has had with injuries so far this year. It's unfortunate, but Earl Watford, hopefully he can come in there and do some pretty decent things, hopefully. You also have TJ Logan, who is actually out for the year. He broke his thumb, and he is done for the rest of the month. He's done for the rest of the year for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which sucks because I really liked TJ Logan as a returner, and I was always excited to see him get some play or two on the offensive side of the ball as well. So that's really unfortunate. You also have backup returner Scotty Miller, who is also out for this game. So I believe the plan right now is to have Justin Watson, Sean Murphy-Bunting, and Dario Ogunbowale be the three main guys who are going to return punts and kickoffs for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So pay attention to how all three of those guys do, especially in the case of Dario Ogunbowale. This makes a lot of sense because back whenever Bruce Arians first came to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, he mentioned Dario Ogunbowale possibly being a return guy for this team. So makes sense that they're gonna maybe roll back to that thought process and give him a look in this game. And also he's a special teams captain, so yeah. Also Scotty Miller, in terms of his receiving targets and whatnot, expect Brashad Perriman to continue to get more work in this game versus the Colts, much like what he did last week. Again, this kind of kills that thought process of, maybe Scotty Miller is going to cut more into Brashad Perriman's playing time moving forward. Scotty Miller, he hasn't played the last 2 games, so obviously Brashad Perriman has more of a chance to regain that ground and regain those targets back from Scotty Miller, since Scotty Miller has not been able to play. And then finally, Anthony Nelson. He's been out for multiple games now. I believe this is his 5th game in a row that he has missed. Carl Nassib, Shaq Barrett, JPP, and even Sam Acho, who made an impact last week versus the Jaguars. Expect all of those guys to just continue the roles that they have had since Anthony Nelson started to miss time. Now we can start getting into some of the matchups of this game. The first one, it's a big one. Vita versus Quentin Nelson. Now, back in the 2018 NFL Draft, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers held the number 7 overall pick. The Indianapolis Colts held the 6th overall pick. And one pick before the Tampa Bay Buccaneers selected, the Indianapolis Colts selected Quentin Nelson. And right after that, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers said, we're trading down. They traded down with the Buffalo Bills from pick 7 to pick 12. And then with their 12th overall pick, they selected Vita. Now, both these players have been absolutely awesome for their respective teams. Vita, one of the best defensive tackles in the NFL right now, and I don't think that's crazy for me to say. He genuinely, I think, is one of the best defensive tackles in the NFL right now, top 10. And then Quentin Nelson, he's a top 10 guard in the NFL right now. So obviously, the draft picks worked out for both teams, but me personally, I would like to think, and I think a lot of people have this thought process, is that if Quentin Nelson was not taken by the Indianapolis Colts with that 6th overall pick, he would have been a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. I think that there's no doubt about that in my mind. I think there's no doubt about that in a lot of Buccaneers fans' minds. And we almost had Ali Marpet and Quentin Nelson as the Buccaneers starting 2 guards, which would have been insane. And Alex Kappa's done some good things for the Buccaneers, and, you know, shout out to him. But Quentin Nelson, he's just absolutely insane. So the point I'm trying to make here is Quentin Nelson versus Vita Vea. That is going to be an absolute battle of the Titans, and pay attention to how those two guys do. Obviously, the Indianapolis Colts have one of the better offensive lines in the NFL, but the Buccaneers have one of the better front sevens in the NFL, in my opinion. So, yeah, that's going to be one heck of a matchup to pay attention to, is Vita Vea versus Quentin Nelson. A little bit more about that Colts offensive line. I think the strength of the entire Indianapolis Colts team is their offensive line. Chris Ballard, the GM of the Indianapolis Colts, is a really good GM in my opinion, and he has crafted a really, really solid team overall. This Colts team is pretty much above average in almost all of the statistical metrics that you want to look at for teams and how successful they are, you know, in the league right now. So the Colts are pretty decent overall at pretty much everything, and their biggest strength is their offensive line. But like I said earlier, the Buccaneers front seven is their strength almost overall on their entire team. Okay, their defensive line has been stellar this year, and their linebacking core, I think, is the best in the NFL, or one of the best, if not the best in the NFL. And I don't think that's crazy for me to say right now. Their linebacking core has been absolutely insane. So, yeah, the key to attacking this Colts offensive line is going to be blitz, and hey, you know what? Blitz some more. And that's something that Todd Bowles has been doing a lot this year. He's been blitzing a heck of a lot, so expect him to do that, you know, even more so in this game. I expect Todd Bowles to just continue to do what he's been doing, and that's just been sending a whole heck of a lot of pressure at opposing offensive linemen and just opposing offenses in general. So, yeah, pay attention to this Colts really good offensive line versus the Buccaneers really, really good front seven. It's going to be one heck of a war throughout the entire game, and I expect a whole lot of blitzing from Todd Bowles. Next thing I want to talk about, Marlon Mack versus the Abyss. That's basically what I've named the Buccaneers' run defense. They are the Abyss because, quite frankly, not a lot of runners do very good versus the Buccaneers' run defense. The entire year we've seen it. I believe Alvin Kamara did the best, and that was only one game, and it's Alvin Kamara. What are you going to do? But they've held guys like Todd Gurley, Christian McCaffrey, among multiple other top 5 to top 10 running backs in the NFL to just have not very good games. Leonard Fournette being the most recent example / casualty of the Buccaneers run defense. And the Indianapolis Colts have one of the better rushing offenses in the NFL. I believe it is top 5. So this is a very interesting and almost perfect matchup for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense because the Indianapolis Colts, they like to run the ball a lot. They're very good at running the ball, whereas the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they are one of the better run defenses in the NFL. So we've seen this matchup earlier this year with the Seattle Seahawks, where Russell Wilson, Chris Carson, and whatnot, they did a really good job versus the Buccaneers run defense. But Russell Wilson, in my opinion, is, you know, top 3, maybe even the best quarterback in the NFL right now. Whereas Jacoby Brissett, I would say he's good. He's definitely, I would say, like, you know, above average, but, you know, certainly not up there with Russell Wilson in terms of comparing quarterbacks. So I think that if you can really work on maintaining the Indianapolis Colts run game and force Jacoby Brissett to pass the ball, the Buccaneers will have a better chance of winning this game. It's just all of a matter of Marlon Mack and the Indianapolis Colts run offense versus the Buccaneers abyss of a run defense. So, yeah, that's probably going to be the most important matchup for this game. Another player I want to mention on the defensive side of the ball for the Indianapolis Colts, Darius Leonard. He is one of the best linebackers in the NFL. He is, you know, point blank. He's absolutely phenomenal, okay? He does such a wonderful job of just being everywhere, okay? He is great. So pay attention to him on the defensive side of the ball for the Indianapolis Colts. Ronald Jones, Peyton Barber, the tight ends, O.J. Howard, Cameron Brate. They're going to be seeing a lot of Darius Leonard. So pay attention to how those guys do. Pay attention to how Darius Leonard factors into stopping the Buccaneers' run offense, and just pay attention to how he factors in covering tight ends as well in the pass offense. So yeah, Darius Leonard is certainly a problem. And the last thing I want to talk about here, talking about the Indianapolis Colts, is, I know they're 6-6, and I know I mentioned a lot of good things about the Indianapolis Colts, but the one thing that has been so not great with the Colts this year has been injuries. They have suffered so many injuries this year. They've lost their starting 2 wide receivers for, multiple games this year. In the case of Devin Funchess, he's been out pretty much the entire year. In the case of T.Y. Hilton, he has missed, multiple games this year. On the defensive side of the ball, they've also suffered a ton of injuries. So this is a Colts team that, yes, is still pretty decent overall in a lot of the statistical metrics that I've mentioned so far in this video, but they've also suffered a lot of injuries. They are a beaten, they are a banged up team, and the Buccaneers are relatively healthy, all things considered, especially on the defensive side of the ball. So they need to take advantage of that. They certainly need to get pressure on Jacoby Brissett, and they also need to take advantage of the lack of a wide receiver depth and just wide receiver star power that they have on the offensive side of the ball. So maybe the defense can go out there and do some really good things. I think that they have a good chance to, especially in the passing game, because, if they can limit the run game with Marlon Mack and with the Indianapolis Colts that we've seen them do all year with a lot of NFL offenses, that's going to force Jacoby Brissett to pass the ball, and he just doesn't have a lot of great weapons right now. Eric Ebron's on the IR. T.Y. Hilton's out for the game. Devin Funchess is on the IR. Jack Doyle, he just signed an extension, so maybe we'll see a lot of him, but the Colts are certainly lacking offensive firepower right now. Marlon Mack is there, but he has had some injury problems this year and just pretty much his entire career. So, yeah, this is a banged-up Indianapolis Colts offense. On the defensive side of the ball, it doesn't get much better for them, and the Buccaneers have one of the better offenses in the NFL, just period. So, yeah, guys, this is going to be a really interesting matchup. I think the Buccaneers match up very, very well to the Indianapolis Colts. They're a team that likes to run. The Buccaneers' main priority on defense is stopping the run. So, yeah, I'd like to think that the Buccaneers have a really good chance to win this game and finish, and end up being 6-7 for their record so far this year. But guys, that's it for this video. Let me know what you think about everything I said down in the comment section below. What do you think about the Indianapolis Colts offense versus the Buccaneers defense? What do you think about Quentin Nelson versus Vita? Let me know what you think about all of it down in the comment section below. But guys, again, thank you so much for watching this video. Hope you all enjoyed. I will see you in the next one. But until then, and as always, guys, goodbye for now, and go Bucs.